Okay, and so particularly like with this, with the, again, what was the phrase? The gating,
Sensory gating, reducing sensory gain.
gating. Um, like, is the shaman needed, the curandero needed to like guide someone's gating back to its normal 3D perception? Is there like a quality of assistance that's needed, that's um in yeah, just like in order to be able to maintain an energetic container for people to safely return? Is that an important consideration?
There's a difference between necessity. I would say most of the time, no, it's not necessary. At the same time, I would say that it's very unlikely that a person who is not being guided by someone with a lot of dietas, to be specific, or someone who has mastered their art form, would be able to go to the depths, to the same level of depths in their healing. So if you were to drink ayahuasca in a ceremony led by someone who hadn't done much training, didn't have any dietas or very strong dietas, or hadn't mastered his art form or her art form, then you could have a beneficial experience, but that beneficial experience might be something on the nature of like, I felt light and I feel lighter now, and I feel like I feel good in my body, and I was able to like see some things that I work through. Whereas someone who is with a person who is well trained or has that mastery of art form, maestro is another word for curandero, that refers to that mastery of their art form. Then they might say, "Oh my God, I was completely reborn. I released all of my childhood traumas. I see myself as the person I know that I am." Like the language that they would use to describe the experience could be far more profound, because they were able to access a depth of healing that would be inaccessible to someone who didn't have that mastery. So that's like the level of positive effect, but there does exist the potential for negative effect. I don't think that it's a high risk, but it's certainly a risk that someone could go down into a trauma, let's say, and then can't come back. So they essentially become re-traumatized, and then they are worse as a result of doing the ceremony. And that's because the person that was leading the ceremony did not have a mastery that was adept enough to know what to do in that situation. And that's a real possibility. Now, again, I would say that it's not that common, but there's one thing, and I've seen this happen, at least because I do integration counseling. So sometimes I'll do counseling for people that have had difficulties after. And if someone goes to Peru, let's say, or has a curandero from the Amazon visit their town, and they do ceremonies with a master, a maestro, and then they go to a place like, just down the road a month later because they heard that this guy's doing ceremonies. But that is not a maestro. That's a person that got their hands on a bottle of ayahuasca and thinks that they know what they're doing. And because they went to those depths with a master, now they will be able to go to those depths again, except now they're in the presence of someone that doesn't know how to bring them out or guide them through. And that can be very dangerous. And I guess, like, if we were to try to turn this into a piece of advice, if you are a person who has drank with someone that you took to be a master of that art form, or that you had a very, very deep, profound experience, then be very, very careful or mindful if you are considering doing a ceremony with someone that you recognize does not have the same level of mastery.
Yeah, that's probably the most specific warning, I think, that or yeah, I'm glad you put it that way. Um, and the yoga analogy is fruitful as well. You know, this, of course, there's a spectrum. And why wouldn't you want to do a ceremony with the maestro? You know, if you can have exponentially greater impact, you know, just go straight to the like most effective conditions to start with.
Well, I agree. I will say there are a lot of considerations. You know, like there's a community in New York. It's quite large, like thousands of people, and it's very convenient. You know, if you live in New York City and you can just hop on a train and go away for the weekend, do a couple ceremonies, and get back on a train and be back in town ready to go to work again on Monday. That's very convenient. To fly down to the Amazon rainforest isn't exactly an option for a lot of people. And, you know, and then to have the connections, you know, to know that there is some like Colombian Taita coming up to your town to do a ceremony. How do you know if that's going to happen? And, you know, like, how do you get into those circles where you learn about that? And so I do think that things are changing. You know, I know there are churches. Joe Tafur started the Church of the Condor and the Eagle in Arizona, and he is very well trained Westerner. Did a 5-year apprenticeship in the Shipibo tradition with his teacher Ricardo Amaringo, and you know, those people are now around. You know, I see there's like a real shift. In fact, you know, starting with people like Carlos Castaneda and Terrence McKenna and maybe even like William Burroughs. You know, there was like this early pioneers that introduced these concepts to us. Of course, before them, there were like the truest of the true pioneers, like Richard Evans Schultes and Richard Spruce. But then there was like the generation that came from the Castaneda generation or the McKenna generation. And, you know, they like were able to go deeper, I feel, with it. And now we're seeing this kind of crossover that I think can be marked by Dieta, by the concept of Dieta, where, you know, Terrence McKenna never mentioned Dieta because he never like, it couldn't have come into his understanding of it. It was too deep, you know, to get down deep enough to even know about it. And so now we're like seeing Dieta be like something that people are starting to become aware of. And that's like a big part of the courses that we do are the Dietas that are providing like that connection to the spirits themselves. But I guess there's just like this next generation coming, and that next generation will like take things to another level as well. And if that coincides with this decriminalization movement, then, you know, who knows what we'll start to see.
And Dieta is the process of forming a relationship with the plant.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Also, really quick, do you consider yourself to be a curandero?
I do not. No. I thought I was going to be. There probably was a time that I have.
Okay.
I don't know. I spend a lot of time with some really special people. And if I were to call myself a curandero, it would kind of be like if you played basketball with Michael Jordan and then like, yeah, I'm a basketball player. You know, like it's not my idea of a curandero, I think is on a level that, yeah,